Hello, my name is Bob. Welcome to a short stop on pool. This week I've got a pretty straightforward rack for you, except there were a couple of instances where I had the opportunity to kind of smash into balls or open balls up, but I studied it a little more and chose a higher percentage route, and I was really looking for insurance balls. I wanted to make sure that after opening up any clusters or dealing with trouble balls that I was going to have a shot. So I think there's a couple good lessons in this rack. Let's not waste any more time and let's get into the rack. I've got a low break ball to start the rack, but this is a great break shot, just high left English, and you can hit it nice and firmly. That left English should keep the cue ball under control. As you notice, I probably chopped it a little bit. I didn't get a lot of high, and the cue ball just kind of killed on the bottom rail. But that's going to work real well. I have a choice of shots to start out, either this 14 ball or the 10 ball. I like the 10. It's on the rail, or that might be the 12. On the rail, real easy to pocket this ball. The 14 ball is going to maybe head towards the rack. It's a little bit less controllable, but a little bit of rack analysis is good to start with. And I don't have any break balls. 2 balls pretty high. I don't think that's a real good option. So I'm going to be making a break ball. I probably want to move one of these balls in the rack area. One of those will get moved to the sides in order to make a break shot. The 5 ball passes this 3 into the corner. So I'm really in good shape. I just want to make this 10 ball and get the cue ball all the way to the rail and off. I thought at first about just floating it in softly, but when you do that, you can sometimes end up with an inaccurate hit, and you can hit the rail before the ball or the ball before the rail and miss this shot. So I'd rather put a little bit more of a positive stroke on it, and that's what I do with a good result. Now, the first thing I look at after this shot is I want to open up these balls, right? And I've got an angle on this 14. You can see me looking at it. It's very common in straight pool to pocket the 14, go straight to the bottom rail, and straight up into these balls. That would be an excellent shot if I had a ball over here somewhere, or possibly over here, an insurance ball. Now, it's unlikely that I wouldn't end up with a shot after this, but we're not looking for unlikely when we're trying to run a lot of racks in straight pool. We're looking for 99 to 100%, and this doesn't fit. So I pass on shooting the 14 and going into those balls. That's something I would have 6 months ago, a year ago, for sure I would have shot the 14 because I would have been anxious to open those balls up. But anymore, no. The priority is 100% shot choices. And so I could shoot the 7 ball or the 2 ball right now, aside from the 14. And what I realize is, looking at this rack, there's a couple of ways to open this up. One would be getting an angle on the 15 rather, to go into those balls. That's pushing everything down and away from the break ball areas, so that's no good. And then what I notice is that the 9, looks like the 9 and 10 ball are a combination. They're kind of lined up to this point on the rail, but that's very makeable. And so if I get an angle somewhere in here, I can pocket that combination and bump the 15 over. So that's a shot that's very controllable. I can just hit enough of the 15 to knock it far enough and make a break ball. And then I've got the 7 in the side and the 9 in the corner, and maybe one of these balls as an insurance ball. So I see that as a much higher percentage play. I could shoot the 7 ball right now up in the corner, and then what I want to do is slide over here so that I can use these 2 balls to transition to that combination. So as you notice, there's 1 shot, 2 shots, and then the shot that's going to open up the rack. This is what's on my mind. This is the purpose for both of these other shots. And then the other option I noticed right away is the 2 ball does have a path into the side pocket. So that's a heck of a lot easier shot than the 7. Plus it preserves the 7 as an insurance ball later, and I can just roll forward past these balls. So that's my shot choice. Here I'm walking over and looking at my choices, my options, and I see pretty quickly the 2 is the better choice. And I know that if I roll far enough, I can shoot the 5 before the 3. So that's really the determining factor for how hard to stroke that 2 ball. I could have stopped the cue ball here just as easily, but I'd want to shoot that 5 ball. That's a trouble ball, and the 5 sets me up for the 3. So there's 3 shots, 2, 5, 3 to get me onto the shot that's going to open up this rack. So I'm looking at the angle I want. This is the crucial shot. You've got to get it right, so make sure you check your angle. You notice that 3 ball hit the rail here. And what that does is caused my cue ball to stop here when I probably wanted it to stop here. So I don't quite have the right angle, but it's still manageable. This is why attention to detail and pocketing balls cleanly is important. But anyway, I just want to glance the 15, and that comes out perfectly. And I was very happy with the result there at first, until I walked around here and noticed I actually created a bunch of trouble. So the 15 ball is really good. That's a really good break ball. And it's likely that the 7 ball could be a key ball for that shot, for that break ball. But I created trouble. I tied up the 6 and 13 real well, and the 9 and 1 are tied up. Now the 9 and 1 isn't that bad of a combination. My first inclination would be to get an angle on the 9-1 because the 1-9, because the 1 ball is going to go this way after I make it. So I think that's kind of controllable. I can hit it hard enough to get the 1 ball down here and not tied up with the 14. But then these balls are still tied up. The 9 and the 13 are still tied up. Okay, what if I get this angle on the combination and send my cue ball into the 9-13? I really don't have an insurance ball. Lots of balls moving around. Balls can get tied up. Just not a good plan. So I want to find something higher percentage than that. And it takes me just a little bit of looking around. Let's play the video. So I'm studying what to do. How am I going to get these balls open in a high percentage fashion? And what I finally realized that I have an angle to cut the 7 to my left and bring the cue ball down here. So my goal is to get the cue ball right about here. I want to be below the 14. That way I just checked the angle on the 14. So I can cut the 14 in and go into these balls with a follow stroke. The 6 ball is going to go this way and hit those balls, and the cue ball should follow forward. It's really hard to not get a shot after that. That's a very high percentage play. Now compare where the cue ball stopped to where I wanted to get it. That's not good. And once again, that's that attention to detail. When you make a decision, you've really got to commit to that decision. I would rather the cue ball had stopped frozen to the rail, because then my cue ball naturally opens up these balls after I cut the 14 in. So this was a bit of a failure. It's not a rack killer. It's not going to be the end of the rack, but that's the type of attention to detail that's the difference between running 50 balls and running 100 balls. Anyway, so now how am I going to do this? I've got to shoot the 14 ball. I want to get these balls open. So I walk over and look. Walking around is always a really good idea. I was considering rolling the cue ball forward. You saw me bend over and look. What angle would I need to shoot the 1 up in this corner? And then I realized that the ghost ball position for the 14 gets me a perfect angle on the 6 ball up in the corner. And from there, I can roll forward and bump the 1. Let me pause this video for just a sec. I think you can see what I'm doing. But I can roll forward and bump the 1. Once I do that, my cue ball is going to be here. I'll have a choice on the 9 or the 13. How's that for a high percentage play? I'm not hoping that I end up with a shot as balls crash into each other. Everything's controlled. So even though this looks a little unusual playing such short side position, the reason that I'm able to get away with it is because the cue ball didn't have to move. Ghost ball position was automatically there. And so that makes it a really high percentage play. So now just roll forward and bump the 1 ball. This I can just hit pocket speed, nice and gentle. I'm going to have a shot on the 9 or the 13. Now the rack is solved. I have 5 balls left before my break ball. So now I want to think about what my key ball is. I've already shot off the key ball that would have been ideal for the 15 ball break shot. And I also noticed that this 1 ball is kind of even with the 15. They're both around the middle of the rack. They're both, well, the one ball's a little bit closer to the rail than the 15. So it wouldn't be the end of the world to switch to the one ball as a break shot. I'm not sure what reason, but I stay with the 15, and there's nothing wrong with that. Now, based on the fact that I don't have a key ball here for my 15, what's the best key ball? It's either this ball or one of these. The next choices would be either the 9 or the 1, because with an angle where you're cutting one of those balls to the left, it's very controllable to go side rail, and off. And you could end up with a variety of angles on your break shot, but all of them are going to be very workable. So that's a high percentage play as well. But the way I'm looking at it, the first thing I'm looking at is I would prefer one of these balls for my key ball. Normally, when you have two balls into the side pocket, you want to get rid of one of them. So you just have one ball into the side as your key ball. In this instance, I like using one of these balls to set up for the other ball. And the reason why that works is because if I can get my cue ball over here, depending on whether my cue ball stops here or here or here, I can use either the 8 or the 11 to set up for the other one. So that's what's on my mind. So what I see as a high percentage play is I want to shoot the 9 ball and bring the cue ball over here for the 1. Pretty simple, right? And then it's pretty much just a stop shot on the 1 ball, and this is a very controllable positional route. 2 rails from the 13 to get over here to this position for those balls on the side. So that's my plan. You notice with my cue ball so close to the 9, let's get a nice and short bridge. I can't follow through very far anyway. So a short bridge helps on that shot. Now you notice I shot it kind of fast, and now I have an angle. I've got to cut the 9 to the right. So that was not a good play. So I'm over here looking at shooting the 11 ball and then going 11, 9, 13 and come out for the 8. That's not great because you've got to send your cue ball a long distance to try and get just right on that 8 ball. So I'm sticking with the 2 balls into the side pocket last. Because I have an angle on the 9, I'll just slide over to this side of the 13 and then get my cue ball over here. If I get this angle on the 13 ball, then I have that 2 rail route up into this area. If I get the angle that I got, or even lower, then it's very simple to just go 1 rail out to that position. And if I get straight, I can cheat the pocket and still do both of those. So for that reason, I think it's a very high percentage play to slide over here instead of the stop shot on the 9. Based on where the cue ball stopped, I have a choice. I'm cutting, if I shoot the 11 ball, I'm cutting it to my left. And that's going to put the cue ball below the 8, somewhere over here. That's kind of okay. It's fairly controllable. You have to send the cue ball off from the 8, straight up table, and then straight back down and try and get in this vicinity. But is there an easier shot or more controllable shot? And that's what I'm going to look at right now. Because I can also, I looked at it real quick. Yeah, here we go. I can also roll forward and shoot the 11 ball back here. And I think that's a much higher percentage play with one caveat. A lot of people, and what I used to do all the time on this shot, I would think, oh, great. All I got to do is get close to straight in, and then all I have to do is draw my cue ball over here. Well, it's really hard to get that angle because that's a very small position zone here. And so what I've learned is it's much better to go ahead and give yourself a nice angle on that ball. And then you've got a much wider position zone. And then I'm going to draw the cue ball to the rail and out. And so once again, position to the rail and off is preferable than just trying to float over and judge that distance. It's always easier to hit the rail and judge your distance off from the rail. So that's the way to play this key ball. Oh, did you see me just get up on the shot and then get back down? So I got up off the shot because I realized I was very close to having the correct angle to draw the cue ball straight back and spin it a little bit. And then all I've got to do is just tap the 11 in and roll forward. I really like that play. However, it can go wrong. You could end up with not enough spin, and then you've got an angle where you're cutting the 11 to the left. You could go too far. And I just quickly decided that no, stick to the original plan. But I stood up off the shot to make that decision. You never want to decide and make a choice while you're down on the ball. If something else comes to your mind, get off the shot, make your decision, and then begin again. So I've got a perfect angle, draw to the side rail, piece of cake. Very controllable shot. No English. This break shot is going to be similar to the one that opened the rack, though I think the one that opened the rack was lower. It was about here, so it's a little bit higher, but I've got almost a parallel angle, pretty much parallel angle right to the ghost ball. So this is the similar shot. It's a high ball with right English. And again, you think if you're hitting with a high ball, you might miss the rack. Don't worry about it. I'm going to hit this really firm, and the deflection angle, or rather the tangent line, is this way. So I'm going to be hitting either the middle or the bottom of that corner ball, which is ideal because that's going to keep the cue ball below the rack. Very unlikely that I'll scratch. Let's see how that works out. Pretty good. Cue ball went to the bottom rail, came straight back up. I'm going to cut the one ball, and I'm in business. I hope you found that informative, entertaining, and helpful. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. Head over to SatoriFlatRack.com and check out the promo video for my new and unique pool ball rack. And of course, ShortstopOnPool.com for my book, A Shortstop on Straight Pool. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time at Shortstop on Pool.